Right, we're going to do a very brief video on how to set up a radio control system. Now, we've got two different types here. We've got a 6-channel radio and we've got a 3-channel radio. A selection of different receivers, a servo, battery and a bind pin, which are basically, they're the things that you're going to need to set up your radio control system. Okay then, so we have our transmitter and we have our receiver. And what we're going to need to do on this 2.4 gigahertz radio system is bind these two together. We bind the transmitter to the receiver. And what that then does, it locks them together so they won't be interfered with, they won't get any outside interference. Now, this is a 3-channel receiver, and you can tell it's a 3-channel receiver because it's got ports for 3 servos, and obviously there's the little servo motor. This, for example, is a 6-channel, so you can see it looks pretty much the same, except it's got spaces. Well, it's got more spaces, it's got 6 of them, so it runs 6 servos that we can run in. Here's one from a different make, different manufacturer. This one's got 8 connections, but in essence they all do exactly the same thing. We're going to focus on the 3-channel, and then what we're going to do now is we're going to set all this up to control the servo. Now, on the radio, we can see here there is a button that says bind. What we have to do is we have to bind the transmitter to the receiver. And generally, the way this works, although check your own instructions for your own radio, because it might be slightly different, on this one, as on most, we hold the bind button, and as we hold it, we power up the transmitter. Most radio systems use that kind of system. It might be a toggle switch, it might be a button, it might be something in the menu. Hold the bind button and power up the transmitter. Now, before we do that though, we need to set up the receiver. What we have is a little bind pin. It will have come with your receiver. This little bind pin needs to be plugged into the port that says bind, and on the radio, on the receiver here, it says bind. This is port number 3. So we're going to plug it in. It just plugs in very, very simply. Doesn't matter which way around it goes, just plugs straight in. What we then do is we have to power up the receiver. So we take our 6-volt supply here, plug it in to the receiver and power the receiver up. And you can see straight away there's a flashing red light on the receiver. And what that means is this receiver is ready to bind to the transmitter. It's kind of flashing saying ready to bind. What we then do, pop that down, we press and hold the bind button and power on the transmitter. And we keep holding that bind button until that light goes solid, which it has done. That's why I've taken my finger off the bind button. If it was flashing, it's in the process of binding, but when it's solid, it means it's now bound to the transmitter. What we now do, we turn our transmitter off, take our bind plug out, and we unpower the receiver. Then we get our servo, or servos, because obviously remember this is a 3-channel, we can plug 3 servos in. I'm going to plug this one into channel 1. Don't need our bind plug anymore. And we take our power, plug our power into our receiver. Now you can see it's actually still flashing there, look, but when we turn on our radio, it's now linked. And then if we look at our servo, if we come to our radio, our transmitter, we move our transmitter control and it moves our servo in proportion. And obviously if we had different servos plugged in, we could control our different servos with different switches on our radio system. And that is how you set up a radio control system and bind a system and obviously plug a servo in to control it.